everybody, J-Dev has returned once again to give you exactly what you want. And of course, that'd be more of me, that amazing backdrop that's behind me, giving you my thoughts, my opinions, and what I'd like to say will be some expert analysis on a certain topic subject. What I wanted to do this evening was just talk about some recent UFC events and give my thoughts on the most recent UFC Fight Night main event, as well as some of the fights that were on the UFC 238 event. If you haven't watched the fights and don't know who won, well, you probably should watch the fights, but if you haven't watched them yet, you're probably just waiting for me to talk about them. So let's talk about it. So the UFC Fight Night that was in Stockholm, Sweden, the main event of the evening was, of course, Alexander Gustafsson versus Anthony Lionheart Smith, and I predicted Anthony Smith to beat Alexander Gustafsson, and I was right. Here's why I did that. Alexander Gustafsson didn't really look that good against Jon Jones. In fact, he didn't do anything. I don't know what was wrong with him or whatnot. I guess he got hurt early on in the fight. But I just saw more from Anthony Smith, and I thought he wanted it more than Alexander Gustafsson. So that's my prediction. Now, as far as Alexander Gustafsson announcing his retirement after the fight, I don't think Alexander Gustafsson should retire at all. I think he's got plenty left in the tank. He just needs to fight the guys that are, lower in the division. But, I mean, I guess if you can't win the belt and you've had 3 opportunities, and then you can't beat one of the number 1 contenders, maybe it is time to call it quits, but I definitely think he has more left in the tank. I mean, his movement is really good. He's jumping around, boxing, all, he looks good. He just lost to the better man that night. I think he certainly could win the title if Jon Jones ever decides to go up to heavyweight, if that ever happens. So that's my take on that. Glad Anthony Smith won. What's next for Anthony Smith? Well, it's not going to be another title fight against Jon Jones. He didn't do enough to earn a title fight. He's going to have to beat like 3 or 4 good people, with Gustafsson being one of them, to earn that. Maybe a fight with Corey Anderson or Dominic Reyes. Possibly even a fight with Daniel Cormier. Okay, that's unlikely to happen, obviously. But something, Corey Anderson and Dominic Reyes make a lot of sense to me. Maybe a fight with Luke Rockhold. That's what people want to see. We might get that, actually. That probably will be what's next for Anthony Smith. He'll fight the winner of the Rockhold and the other guy, Jan Bull. I don't even know what his last name is, but that would be my prediction for that. And as far as UFC 238 goes, the people's main event of the evening, Tony Ferguson versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone. It was a war. I think Cerrone had the first round. Tony Ferguson, you could say, had the second round, although a lot of people give it to Cerrone. And then at the end of the second round, the round is over with, and Ferguson throws another punch that lands to Cerrone's nose. And then, obviously that wasn't good, and Ferguson didn't mean to do that. It was just the heat of the moment. He's just fighting. But then Cerrone, blew his nose, and then that forced the air to go up and make his eye completely closed. And for that, the doctors actually stopped the fight and awarded Ferguson a TKO due to doctor stoppage. That's the right call, but honestly, I think they should change stuff like that to a no contest. Or maybe look at who won each round and have that factor into the decision. Because Cerrone could still go. There was he didn't look hurt at all, other than, his eye being closed. But, he looked fine, and he wanted to continue. So I don't think that should be a TKO to a doctor stoppage. Obviously you don't want him to face damage because he's going to get punched like crazy by Ferguson in the third round, but they need to redo that fight, or redo that. They need to run that fight over again, hopefully soon. Maybe add it to UFC 239. That would be great. That would be actually awesome, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens, but I thought Cerrone was winning that fight. Ferguson obviously can go, but it was only a 3-round fight, so who knows what would have happened in that third round. But I think the fans were robbed of a good finish, but I understand the rules and whatnot, but they need to make that fight happen again. As far as what's next for both fighters, well, I think Tony Ferguson has only 2 fights right now that he could have. He's going to either fight Conor McGregor, or he's going to fight the winner of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier. That would be the only 2 logical choices for Ferguson if he doesn't fight Cerrone again. Donald Cerrone, he could fight Conor McGregor too, or since he technically lost that fight, if he doesn't fight Ferguson again, he could fight Justin Gaethje, and that would be a fight I'd love to see. Two of my favorite fighters, well, at least in my top 10, fighting it out. And I'd be pulling for Gaethje, but you really can't root against Donald Cowboy Cerrone either. But since, Nurmagomedov and Poirier aren't going to happen until September, you got some time until then. So I sense that each fighter will fight either each other, so Ferguson and Cerrone, or they will have separate fights even before then. So that's my take on that. And I predicted Cerrone to win. Well, I don't know. I don't call that a loss, though. I mean, he wasn't knocked out. The doctor stopped the fight. And he could clearly go, but obviously his eyes, I think it was completely closed. I don't think he could see out of it. But I understand, but I guess, okay, you can call it a win for Ferguson. But they need to change that ruling, especially when stuff like that happens. And then in the co-main event of the evening, you had Jessica Eye versus Valentina Shevchenko. And I predicted Shevchenko to win that fight. And boy, did she ever have a vicious head kick. She is damn good, and she's only getting better. I want to see her have another shot at Amanda Nunes. But she's going to hold on to that title for a long time. I don't see anybody even coming close to beating her, because she's just improving left and right. So, and then of course we have the vacant bantamweight championship, where you had Marlon Moraes fight Henry Cejudo. My prediction turned out to be true. Henry Cejudo, the smaller fighter, ends up winning by knockout, which was great. Marlon Moraes has nothing to be ashamed of, though. He made it. He was winning the fight in the first round, at least. Lots of leg hits, and Cejudo had to change his strategy. And, that was a good one. It was a good card, actually. As far as what's next for Cejudo, I don't know. He's got to defend one of those titles. And then him saying he's the greatest, the champ, and now he's the best pound per pound and one of the best of all time. You may be good, but you've lost 2 fights. You've lost to Demetrius Johnson, and you've lost to Joseph Benavidez. John Jones has never lost a fight. He lost a fight due to disqualification with those bullshit 12-6 elbow strikes that they said was disqualification. He was dominating Matt Hamill even before the elbow strikes. I mean, I don't know. I don't count that as a loss. Henry Cejudo is clearly lost. Coach John Jones is lost outside of the octagon. But you know what? The guy's a talker. I'll give him credit where credit's due. He's good. He beat Demetrius Johnson, which is no easy task. I'd love to see him fight Dominic Cruz, but I don't know. I don't know when Dominic Cruz is going to come back, if even. He gets hurt too much. So he should defend the 125 title, this flyweight belt, I think, and then defend the bantamweight belt. I would say against Aljamain Sterling looked pretty damn good against Munoz. That was an entertaining fight, and Sterling looked damn good. Like, I've never seen him look that good. So that would be the fight to make, in my opinion. Sterling versus Henry Cejudo at 135. At 125, I don't even know who you give the shot to at that point. So those are just kind of some of my thoughts on some recent fights that have happened. Of course, I'll be back again with other fight analysis. And if you're a fan of UFC or MMA in general, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you like this video, and make sure you include some fights that you'd like to see. I really, really want to see Donald Cerrone either face Justin Gaethje or Conor McGregor. That's what I want. I mean, I don't know. Conor McGregor, he just wants a title fight, and that's it. But, I don't know. It's got to happen. He's got to fight somebody else. So that's my opinion on that. And make sure you include your opinions on fights that you'd like to see, specifically for UFC. You can do Bellator, but I obviously think UFC is much better competition than Bellator is. So make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe, and leave that comment. And, of course, I'll be back again soon with another. Peace!